Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I got a bunch of stuff laid out on my table, and let me tell you what I'm up to. So what you see here is a PEI controller. This is a 240 controller, temp controller. That's the harness or the mounting bracket for the rear of it. This is a heat fin. We got here is a solid state relay. This is a 40 ampere solid state relay. Okay, we've got a fan. Some toggle switches, and this is the grill for the fan. This is the heat probe for the PEI controller. Now, what we're going to be doing is building a controller, of course. Here's a box, utility box. Now, I can make this, and I've made them in the past, but honestly, I ordered this off of Amazon. It was 30 bucks. By the time I'd make one, it'd be 20 bucks and the headaches to make it. So anyway, what we're going to try to do is we're going to build a controller on here today. This is going to be for a new oven build. This new oven build is going to be very different compared to the oven builds I've built in the past. So the game plan is to make this oven build narrow and wider. So it doesn't take up as much space in the shop, but we still can get a set of rims in, a bumper, and so forth in order to do powder coating. A lot of the ovens I built were really large. They're great ovens, they've worked out well. The people that purchased them enjoyed them and they do the job perfectly. But what I'm trying to do is build another oven that someone in a small shop or home garage can use. It will be a 2-burner oven. This way they can use, let's say they only have a 100 amp service at home. Or their shop only has a 200 amp service and they've got compressors running and so forth. The draw on the box is pretty intense. So we're going to try to keep it lower on required ampage for the oven, but very efficient. So this should work out great. I'm going to put my camera down and put it back on a tripod and get a mic hooked up because I know some of the videos have some issues with hearing me speak. So we'll do that, and let's start lining this box up and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. So guys, I've got the mic hooked up, so hopefully this contraption is going to work well. Some better sound. So here's the box. I think we got that camera set up perfectly. You can see in the box I am. Okay, perfect. So with this box, what you're going to have is you're going to have an interior lip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up. I'm going to make 2 marks on each side with Sharpie, of course, just to get a rough idea where that lip is, because we got to stay clear of that lip. So I'm going to do that. What we'll do now is we'll do the same here, like so, just to give it a mark. And then we'll throw a line, and that should square this out with a square, like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll make these markings. So the intent, of course, is to stay clear of the lip, mounting lip. So let's just make a mark here. 1. There we go. And we're just going to make sure this is sitting square. We'll just extend that out a bit. Pretty good. There's that one. And we'll do the same on this side. There we go. So basically what we've done is we know that we have to work within this interior and leave the outsides alone, because that's where the actual lip is here, right? So that's going to work there. Okay, so now just to kind of line things up a bit, so I'm going to put the controller there, and like so. And then what we're going to do is we want to try to keep a little bit of extra space. So I want to have the the solid state relay lower down in here. Here we're going to have a hole in the back of the box allowing all the wiring from the coils or burners to come in, and of course the temp controller or the controller to come in. And here we'll have the wiring coming into the box. And this actual utility box has no grommets to pop out, which I kind of like. I'll drill my own and make sure that everything lines up nicely. So I'm just going to kind of put that there just to kind of get an idea of how I want this to kind of look. Something like that. And I think the fan will mount here on the side. Then that we can do later. And the controller, I should be able to get it mounted like so. So that's kind of the game plan. Of course, that's going to be inside the box. But that's kind of where I want everything to kind of sit. The space that I have here, we'll put a clock or a timer, and that can be used for later on. Now, if I mount this in a way that we can add an extra controller, we could do that. Just lower this down. Will give us a little extra space in here, and that should be able to run an extra controller. So we'll see how that one works out. So that looks pretty good. So I think that's what we'll end up doing. So let me kind of line this up. What I'll do is I'll just make a mark here, kind of get an idea of where I want it to sit, and then we'll go from there. So let me grab that marker. So what we'll do is we'll draw everything out first, and then we'll do some measurements. Kind of want it here, 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 and here. Now this is of course just a mock-up for now. So let's move this out of the way. So what we're going to do is the bottom of that is make a mark. Of course we want everything to be as square as possible because it's going to look awkward if it's not. I'm going to make a line here. And then kind of make a line where I want that to be. So if this is going to sit here somewhat, like so, baseline should be up a little higher. Okay, so what we're going to do is make a secondary line, and that's going to be for the toggle switches, or that we're going to put in there. And that's going to sit there like that. Now what we'll do is we'll measure and mark what we're going to do. So that's saying it's being right there. So I still don't want it too close to the edge. So we're going to back off on the edge a bit again. So let's make another secondary line, and then we're going to measure off of that. Make sure we're square. That's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is measure out the thickness of this guy. Throw of course, the square. And then we want to make sure the height, and this is pretty square, I think, all the way around, and it is. So the height is right there. So we're going to go right to the bottom, make my mark. And I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut most likely on the line. What we'll do is we'll line this up, see where I'm at. So by looking at it, I can get away with cutting on the inside of the line, which is good. Okay, so that's that. I mean, you could use this and put that on top and give yourself a marking. It is a little bit flimsy, but you can do that, you know, so I can line that up and kind of get an idea where I'm at. In second thought, it's still a little too high because I think it's going to hit. Yeah, it's going to hit. Okay, so we're going to have to clean that up and lower it down a bit. What I'll do is I'll take a little bit of brake clean and I'll spray it on here and wipe write that down a bit. So what's going to happen is that harness the harness is actually going to hit it. So we're going to go off the bottom line. Okay, let that dry for a second. We're going to go off the bottom line. So the harness, so this section is not actually going to hit the lip. So let me just clean up that line once again so we can keep on going. There we go. So layout is really important, guys. So you want to make sure, you know, measure twice, cut once type of thing, you know. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay away from here a bit. So we're going to go right over here because I'm concerned about the thickness of that, and that should be okay. Let me make another mark. So we'll work off this corner, and I think that'll be good. Let me just make sure this didn't move on me. Tighten that up a little. Now, if I had a thinner Sharpie, it would be better, but I don't. So we'll work with this. At least I think I don't. So there we go. That's that. Now for height. There we go. I think we're good. That should clear everything. Perfect. We should be bang on, guys. And what I'll do is I'll cut on the inside of the line. I'll leave the actual line when I'm cutting, okay? And then if I have to file it a bit, I will. So now we've got that other line that I used, which actually I think I can leave there and put in my switches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate the distance between the controller and one of the toggle switches, and what we'll do is we'll just use our square where we'll start the first toggle switch, and that'll be here. So we'll do the same measurements. We'll figure out what we got going on these. For thickness, pretty good. Now you want to try to keep these as snug as you can because you don't want them too big. So what I'm going to do is on the inside and the inside, and we'll mark that. Now we're going to do another one, and we're going to spacing between. Inside line, there we go. So what I mean by inside is that I'm going to leave, when I'm cutting these out, I'm actually going to leave the markings, okay? So now the second spacing is going to be here. I'm trying to make sure we're somewhat okay. Marker's a little thick, but that's all right. Okay. And then of course, we've got our control, our switch marking right there. And we're gonna throw a line. Okay, so we know that this is 1, 2, 3. Now we need to know the height of these things. So let's measure that out. Okay, so we got that. So what I'm gonna do with this is mark on the inside of the line, so I can do the outside over here, and on the inside of the line to the inside here. So now I'm gonna make a mark. So this is cutting out, this is cutting out, this is cutting out, and this is cutting out. So that's kind of the layout, guys. So what we'll do now is we'll pre-drill the holes, and we'll cut that out, and then go from there. And then we'll see how that fitment fits. Then we'll move on to getting everything else mounted. So let's get the saw out and see how we can, and the drill, and drill that out. So I got my bit ready. So of course the bit has got to be big enough that I can able to put a jigsaw through. So we're just going to go off to the center. Just like that. And that should work out in there. So guys, I've gone ahead and drilled out some holes on all four corners. We'll get the jigsaw, and hopefully I have a metal blade still. And of course I've drilled it on a block, wood block, and we'll trim these out, and then if we have to file them a bit, we will. So let me go grab the jigsaw. So guys, you can see I got the hole cut out and cleaned out. So that goes on top of there, like so. And of course the fan is gonna go in here, just like that, okay? So what I'm gonna do is let me flip this around. Let me show you what I did on the other side. So directly on the opposite side of the fan, I drilled some vent holes. You know, I kind of traced it out, drilled some holes, more sporadic than anything else. Once I paint this, it'll look good. So of course, I'm just gonna lay the fan in here just like that, just kind of show you where it's at. So the fan's there. And of course, we gotta have the solid relay. And the solid relay is gonna go somewhat like that. So in front of the vent, so we can create a draft to go through, okay? So it keeps this thing cool. And what we can do is we can mount the fin in. The fin is an aluminum fin, and we can mount that in. And that's what it's gonna look like. So what I most likely will do with the fin is rivet it in, and I'll put the rivet from the back side in, and then we can just remove this, okay? And once we are ready to paint, once we're ready to paint, then we'll assemble everything. Now what'll happen up here is there's a grommet here for ground. I might end up making my own. These holes here are for standoffs, and we're gonna use those to mount it on the oven. With some Teflon spacers in between, and that'll help that out. There's enough room here for that, so we're good. We'll have a grommet here for the allowing of the power cables from the burners into the oven, and then one down here in order to power up the oven. And you know, the wiring can sit in here, and we'll keep it nice and neat, and it should work out perfectly. So what we'll have to do is prep this section here. I'll mark it, drill a hole and rivet it in, And then we can get to sanding this box and giving it its first coat of paint. Usually it's kind of a little bit of a rough finish, more like a hammered finish. I'm okay with that, but I'm gonna give it a light sand and give it a first coat of paint. And then we can give it its final coat once we mount it onto the oven. So guys, I got the holes drilled. I got them lined up pretty good. So what we're gonna do is I got my rivet gun ready to go. So we'll rivet from in behind and mount that in. So let me put this camera down for a second. Let me get it riveted and we'll take a look. So guys, I got it riveted in. It's nice and tight, as you can see. Rivets are back here and are flush, which are great. Okay, so we got some progress happening. That goes on there, and it comes with 2 screws. And we'll screw those in, and then of course the fan goes right there, and all the above goes here. So we're almost there, guys. So we're gonna sand this down, clean all this up, because of course by grinding and whatnot, it gets pretty rough looking, but I'll clean that up. I'll tape this up so I don't get too much paint on it, but I will paint the whole thing. You know, she's looking pretty good. So next, like I said before, we'll have to drill the holes here through, but I will only do that when it's time to mount it onto the oven or get close to mounting on the oven and figure out what gauge of wire I'm using for the plug and so forth. But this one's almost together. So we'll sand it all down, clean it all up, clean this face up real nice, and give it a coat of paint, and put this together and make sure everything is sitting in there right, and then we'll move on. So guys, I got the sander out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this ready for some paint. I'm gonna use a combination of 80 grit and 100 grit, just to 80 grit to scuff her up a bit, 100 to make sure she's nice and smooth. And then we'll give her a shot of paint. I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. You know, just to kind of make sure that everything's cleaned up. Okay, why aren't we getting any juice? Okay, so, oh, the breaker must have went. Okay, give me 1 second and I will go reset that breaker. Okay, so we got power back to the sander. So let's take an 80 grit out and we'll put it on there. And we'll go over it real light just to give it a nice scuffing. Okay. Line this up. All right. All right. So we'll switch that pad out. Pad's still good, so we won't throw it out, but we'll switch it out. We'll put the 100 on, and we'll give it a quick scuff with 100. And then we'll get ready for some paint. So hopefully with the, do I have 100 rounds? I don't. Let's see. Do I have any 100 rounds? Well, okay guys, so I don't have any 100 rounds, but I do have 100 square. So we'll use the 100 square palm sander. I'll plug that in. All right. I'll get this. So guys, that should do it. And now what we'll do is let me put this stuff away, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow it off. We'll clean it, wipe it down, and then we're going to put a piece of paper on the inside. I'm not too worried about the inside, although I want to make sure I get the lip painted and in behind the vent. So when you're looking through it, you can't really see any of the gray, but it is going to be a flat block. And that's about it, I think. So let me put this stuff away. I like keeping my stuff organized. So guys, I'm going to tape up this heat fin just to secure that we get no paint on it at all. I don't want any on it. Reason being is that, you know, it's supposed to remove heat away from the solid state relay. So the less we can put on it, the better it is. So I just kind of basically taped it up. So I've got my vents here because the fan is going to go here. So what we want to do is shoot some paint in behind the grill and in the opposite side. So that's going to be important. What we're going to do is we're going to clean this up a little bit, just to make sure it's ready for some paint. I'll grab some shop towels and we'll clean that up. I'm just going to use a Windex just to give it a light clean. I know you can use prep ball or acetone if you like, whatever you got. I usually buy this no-name Windex. It's definitely can smell the ammonia in it. So just give it a nice wipe down. We'll wipe down my counter here. Of course, it's nice and dirty. We'll wipe that down again. Grab another paper towel. Nice and clean. Wipe the surface here a little. You know, doesn't have to be perfect, but we want the overall look to look good. So what I'm going to do is clean this one up. Move this one over. Let me just clean this counter here for this section. That's a little better. Wipe it down. I mean, I've watched guys prep their car with Windex, so you know what? And it seems to work just perfectly for them. So I've been doing the Windex on the small items that I'm painting, and it works flawlessly. So works good. We'll let that dry for a second. Okay, so before we put the tape in on the inside, we're going to shoot. See that? So the grill on behind, we're just going to shoot a little bit of paint back there, and then we're going to cover it up with some paint. I just lost my mic. So 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw some paint in behind that. So I'll get my rattle can. Try to keep things looking good. Quite warm in the garage or in the shop. I've had the heater running for about an hour or so. I got her up to about 10 degrees. It's -2 outside today. Pretty cold out there. We'll just give this a little bit of a shake. All right, so let's hit that on the inside. I'm just going to take it. Oh, I got it painted on the inside, okay? So what I'm trying to do is make sure that we can't see any any gray coming through, okay? That's pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a piece of paper, we're going to put it on top. We'll lift up that box. Got my paper here. Does it have to be perfect? No, it just has to go in there just to stop excess paint from going in. That's good enough. Well, that's just a little bit of paint and a little bit of paper in there, and we're good. So let's get rid of this extra paper. So what I like to do on my workstation is I have leaf bags that I use all the time. You know, I buy them at Canadian Tire and always keep extra. So let's move this out of the way. I'll put a leaf bag on top of here. Actually, someone the other day was watching one of my videos and said, "Hey, you're from Canada. I see the Canadian Tire bag." And I go, "Yeah, I am." So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to get one of those bags out. There we go. And of course, you'll see my Canadian Tire bag. And it fits perfectly over top. And now we'll get something to lift up the box. So I think what I'm going to do is, since we're all looking at the Canadian way of doing things here, I might have a cup. I'm going to find. And I do. So nothing says Canada more than a Tim Hortons cup, Canadian Tire bag. There we go. Okay, so let's give this thing a light coat of paint. So guys, what I like to do is not go real heavy, just a light coat. And let it get tacky. Once it starts to get tacky, then I'll hit her again. Once the top and everything's dry, then I will flip her over and do the underneath. So there we go. We're going to let that sit for a bit. There we go. So what we're going to do is we'll do the grill or front plate. Now, you guys, if you're going to be doing a lot of painting, I do suggest wearing a mask. I mean, this is just a light amount of paint, and it's a lot easier to speak to you guys while I'm doing this without wearing a mask. So we'll let that sit, and we'll let her dry. So once it flashes, I'll go ahead and give it a second coat, and you can start seeing that it's already starting to flash, which is pretty awesome. So we'll let that dry for about 5-6 minutes or so, and then we'll give her a second coat. Okay guys, so I gave it about 4 or 5 minutes. She's somewhat dry already. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. And we're just going to hit the back. Let me wipe up that coffee spill. So we're going to wipe up this back. And we're going to hit that back with some paint. So we're going to give that back a nice light coat of paint. And we'll let that back dry. Give it a little extra on the sides here. Now, once I'm done the oven, I most likely will end up giving it another coat again. But for now, we'll get her covered up. So this one's somewhat dry, almost. We'll let that sit for a few minutes more. Yeah, we're going to let that sit for a few minutes. Still a little tacky. So I'll give that So guys, I got the first coat on the control panel, as you can see. Just waiting for that one to dry. I'm going to get some hangers here that I actually use for powder coating, and I'm going to hang the box up on the rafters and give it a second coat, and then let her dry. Probably going to need maybe 2 or 3 coats before it smoothens out and looks good. But she's looking half decent. So let's get this hung up, and let's see if I can get another coat on it. So guys, I've got her all hung up. I'm going to go ahead and hit her with another coat, a little heavier this time. All right. Well, we're just going to let that dry. And then we'll mock it together. We'll put everything in. And then we still got to drill some holes for the grommets to have the power cord to the wall or to our plug. And then, of course, we have to drill another grommet to allow the wires from the oven to actually enter into the box. But that we can be done once we built the oven, start building the oven, and we can see exactly where we want those to be. But at least the control panel is ready. We'll put it together and take a look, guys. I'll show you what it looks like. So far, so good. Paint's looking pretty good. Sitting here watching paint dry is pretty boring, so we'll pause it for a bit, and then when I'm ready to put it together, I will show you guys that process. So hang in there. Okay, guys. So got the box all taken down from the hangers. Let's get rid of this piece of paper and the tape off the mount for the solid state relay. I taped that up real good. We'll throw that out. And let's kind of mock this up. Now, this is going to be taken apart again anyway, but let's put that solid state relay in there. There should be 2 screws, and that's right here. Wow, they make these little Ziplocs pretty small. Okay, we'll get that out. So we'll just mount that in there. Now, with the solid state relay, there is some electrical grease that you put in between the solid state relay and the fin, and what it does is it helps transfer heat. I will do that later, but for now we're just going to put her together and kind of mock it up and see how everything fits. So that's what that looks like right there. Okay. The fan goes on the opposite side. Now the fan is directional. Okay, so it also depends. If I'm not mistaken, I think with this one, if you wire it up differently, it will suck and blow differently. I guess it'll spin either counterclockwise or clockwise. We're going to mount that in there. And there's some screws for it. And I'll show you what that looks like. And that's the front grille. And they just slide through. Okay, and there's a nut and bolt, or a screw and bolt, I should say. We'll just lightly put that in there for now. We'll get all 4 of them in first. There we go. Then I'll get a closer look for you guys. I'll bring the camera in closer so you guys can see what I got going on. Should there we go. That one's in. And of course, we got to get this guy in. That's lined up perfectly. Now this this fan is 110, and if you know what wiring with 220, if you take a white and a black, you got yourself 110, right? So that you can actually hook up this fan without any concerns. Okay, it is a 240 system or 220 system, so that will allow you to do so. Okay, and that's kind of what that looks like, nice and finished. And that's the vent on the other side. Okay, so there we go. So now let's pop these in. So on being down, they're going to be nice and tight now. I'm just going to that's tight. That should go in. A flat screwdriver and push those pegs down and see if that helps. Of course, when you're looking for one, you can't find one. There we go. Now, it was a snug fit to start. There we go. That's in. And it's a little cold in here today, so you want to be careful with plastic when it's cold. There we go. That one's in. Well, maybe. Well, I didn't expect that to be that tight. I didn't expect that to be that tight. Okay, that one's in. And we'll just pop this. There we go. That one's in. And we'll do the same here. That one goes in, just like that. That's what that looks like. Okay. Now, your controller slides right in. And this, okay, if you look at the way this is designed, it's got some screws on the outside here. So this actually clips in, and there's some ridges on here which actually hold on to the actual controller. You just slide that on. You'll hear it clip. Okay. You just push down and get her nice and tight. And then what you do, of course, make sure she's nice and square. Then what you do is you just tighten these up a bit. And what it does is it puts pressure on the front plate and holds that controller where it needs to be. And that's what she looks like. Okay, so that's that. And that's that. Okay, so we still have to drill a hole through here, and we'll still have to drill a hole through the bottom. And that's for when we're ready to hook it up to the oven. So this will fit right on top of here like so. And what I'll do is I'll put the screws in, make sure they all sit up nice, clean. What are we at? We're at -1 today, so it's not too bad. I don't have the heater running today. That one in there. Yeah, these are square heads. Robinson. There we go. We got one more here. And here. So what I did when I ordered this utility box, I kept the box. So I actually could slide this back in there and put it away until we're ready to use it. This way we don't ruin the work we just did. And got an extra screw. Look at that. Nice. Okay. Oh, that's the ground. All right. So guys, there we go. So that's what she looks like. Your vents, your grill, she's all set. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. And look forward to seeing you guys on my next video. And that one definitely will be our next oven build.